Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn, I'm a psychic and a medium, and today we're going to do a segment where I take your questions on my community page, which is on my main YouTube page. If you click the icon, you can see my main YouTube page, which has a lot of tabs. One of those would be community. You can see sometimes I ask for your questions, usually about once a week. Today, we're going to be talking about your political questions. I have over 60 political questions in less than 24 hours that you guys want to know the answers to. Now, how do I get those answers for you? Well, I ask my spirit guides. I have a special team of spirit guides that have been created for me that answer these questions. I've talked about it in other videos, but I know I have a lot of new viewers, and thank you for joining us. And basically, I channel these videos. I am able to do a very light channel, which means that my personality is still in the mix. But however, I would say it's about 60-40, 60% spirit guides, 40% Susan. Kind of depends. Sometimes you can see that change a little bit. I'll also say or apologize for my dogs if you hear them barking in the background. I have a new rescue puppy who is just 1 year old. I've only had her for 3 months, and she's turned my 8-year-old dog into a puppy as well. So now they just run through the house ransacking the place like they're a couple of frat boys in college. So there's nothing I can do about that. Believe me, I've tried. Okay, so let's get started. Your first question, or the first question that's here in front of me, is from Hawaii Bound. Thank you for your question. It's actually this question is in response to, I'll have to preface this by saying, today is the 15th of June. I hope to get this video published today, but yesterday, some breaking news was had, and that is that Lauren Boebert, and I'm going to read what I posted on my community page. Now, of course, this is allegedly. We don't want to get ourselves in trouble so early, do we, in this video? Allegedly, there's a new group, not a new group, but they're a group that kind of took Madison Cawthorn down. Now they've recreated a new group called Fire Boebert. And they literally went after Madison Cawthorn and took him down, as you can see. Now they're aiming their sights at Boebert. Now listen, to be honest with you, it's pretty easy pickings because I haven't said anything about this or done a video on this, but just Google, when you get a second, explore talent. You'll see that this talent agency has connections to a lot of people that have become politicians. Now, Lauren Boebert is one of those people, but in this particular case, it is alleged that she was an unlicensed but paid escort with SugarDaddyMeat.com. Not kidding. SugarDaddyMeat.com, just in case you want to look it up. And so she was a paid escort through some connection to the Koch brothers, which then got her a connection to Senator Ted Cruz, which then, surprise, surprise, she decided to run for political office. And then, surprise, surprise, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas donated $130,000 to her campaign. How nice, right? 1 minute you're working at, what is it again? I don't want to get it wrong. SugarDaddyMeat.com, and the next minute you're a U.S. Congresswoman in Colorado. It's amazing how that works, right? So she also had, now this is a bone of contention, okay? This is blowing Twitter up all over the place. And I'm going to give you my take on this, and I would just ask you to let's not hash this out in the comments. Let's just agree to just let this be what it is. It has been reported that she's had 2 abortions. Now, I don't care. Personally, I don't care if she works at SugarDaddyMeat.com. I can go, girl, do what you got to do. We all got to pay the bills, right? I don't care. Listen, you want to have abortions? Do what you got to do. That's why it should be a choice. So people are saying that she should never have been doxxed, or she should never have been identified as a woman who's had abortions, and I get that, and it's a scary time, and I get it, that this could be held against you in this day and age, right? So let's just say you're coming out of law school and you want to work for a law firm, and somebody outs you as having had an abortion, and maybe that affects your job. I agree, this is a scary time for women's rights. However, the very people that have made it a scary time are the people like Boebert. So calling them out on their hypocrisy, I'm all for. I'm not the one who figured out how to get into her medical records. I didn't do that. Am I on the wrong side of this for talking about this on YouTube? I don't think so. I don't think so. Listen, folks, this is why we are where we are. Donald Trump and all these people can do everything. They can have the abortions. They can have the crimes. They can do whatever. They can be gay. Lindsey Graham, nobody's calling you out, but nobody else can. Everybody else gets a law slapped on them. Well, this is done. I'm done with this. I'm all about calling out the hypocrisy wherever it is. So that's where I stand with this. You guys may have a different opinion. I understand it's not black and white. It's a lot of shades of gray here. The question, the question that I went all the way off the rails there for a minute, is Hawaii bound. Thank you for your question. He wants to know, I imagine his wife would like a chance at revenge. She's talking about Cruz. So now there's a lot of allegations of suspicions that Senator Ted Cruz, how did he ever meet Lauren Boebert, who was working as a call girl? Do we think he just had coffee with her? I mean, how did he ever meet, right? So come on, it doesn't take a genius or a psychic medium to figure this out. So the question is, I imagine his wife would like a chance at revenge, meaning Ted Cruz's wife. So the question is, will she spill his dirty secrets and soiled laundry or leave him hanging? Great question. She wants to know if Heidi will spill his dirty secrets and spoiled laundry. No, so here's the thing. In the last video that I did, the questions video, we talked about Heidi. Somebody had a question about Heidi, who is Ted Cruz's wife. And I went into her energy, and her energy is, she doesn't even want Ted to be a politician. She wants Ted to be a lobbyist. She wants the money, honey. She doesn't want all this bad publicity, right? They just showed me the picture that I talked about last time too, of Ted Cruz being accosted, confronted by another diner at a nice restaurant in regards to his voting about the guns. And this was after the Uvalde shooting. So she doesn't want that. She doesn't want all that seedy, dirty stuff. She just wants the money. So no, she's not going to come forward and create more dirt for herself. She's not going to do that. I would say to you, reading her energy, that she's not a highly principled person. So, no, she's going to do whatever she can to cover it up. If it starts having legs, and this should be another question, will this come back and really tarnish Ted Cruz's, he just won an election not too long ago, so he's in for a while. And what they're showing me is that this stuff doesn't bring politicians down anymore. Again, the hypocrisy, right? We're no longer in a place like we were with Al Franken, who did basically nothing, and he stepped down. These guys don't step down. They don't care. They've got a great precedent in Donald Trump, who grabbed women's, the P word, who stated that he did and wouldn't ever face any consequences, and he still hasn't. So these sexual allegations, even if they're proven true, are not going to make him step down. They made Madison Cawthorn step down because of the gay issue, and the Republican Party have decided to set their sights on gays, the LGBTQ community. So that's why Madison Cawthorn went down. Now, conversely, because there's obviously a double standard here, they're going to set their sights. This political action group that I just told you about, Fire Boebert, has set their sights on Boebert. Is she going to go down? Yes, I think she's going to go down. I don't think she's going to be able to get away with this. Well, okay, so they're talking about the morality clause. I don't know what they mean by that, but it's not, the morals aren't really something that the Republican Party cares about. Sadly, but that's true. Or they care about their own moral, whatever it is that day of the week. But so again, I would say this, the guides are saying this, and you can use this pretty much. This is the framework going forward. If somebody does something criminal, they're going to go down. Okay, so we have to focus on the crimes, not on the morality. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to Boebert for a second and tell you that there are some crimes here. There are some crimes here, campaign finance crimes. I mean, there's some actual laws on the books, things that can get her in very deep water, hot water. Now, she wasn't a politician. This woman never aspired to be a politician. She aspired to have a lot of money and to be famous. And this is what they did with Explore Talent. They made these people, they picked up these people that had the good looks. Madison Cawthorn was not in Explore Talent, but he was in another modeling, quote unquote, agency kind of thing. And that's how he got picked up. They picked up these people and they planted them in races. And then these people follow a script. Okay. That's a whole nother video. I have spent 11 minutes on one question that I can't even believe it. So anyway, I am going to do a video about that. I've been meaning to do a video about it for months, but the guides told me it wasn't the right time and that there would be more information. And here we are with the new information coming forth. So I will do a video on that. So let me move on. Thank you, Hawaii Bound, for your question. That was a lot of fun for me. All right. Whoo. All right. I have to disconnect again and bring the guides back in a little heavy because it's not fun for them. This isn't like fun or bad. They're just reporting the information. It's not an emotional thing for them. Okay. Portland Girl says, and this is another long question. I apologize. There are some short questions in here. I promise. Portland Girl says, hi, Susan. Hi, Portland Girl. She says, will laws be put in place for those that run for government and high office, such as passing security clearance, knowing the Constitution, criminal background, etc.? Trump would have never passed any of these, even though the FBI knew of his money laundering. He was never vetted, which opened the door for his criminal grifter friends to destroy the office they were supposed to protect. Thank you so much, Portland Girl. Yes. Also, who was it that didn't pass the security clearance? Was it Jared Kushner, right? Didn't ever pass. He couldn't pass a security clearance. And they're telling me right now that that has to do with Saudi Arabia, his connections to Saudi Arabia. Now, I'm going to also take this moment to say this is for entertainment purposes only. And just assume allegedly is in front of everything that I say. Okay, so the question is, will we put laws in place? Yes, we will, Portland Girl. We have a lot to do before we get there, sadly. Because we've got a whole bunch of criminals in office right now. We have a bunch of people that couldn't pass a security clearance. And they're leading me back to the previous question where some of these people have been placed or put in office. They don't have right. So they could, right. Okay. So they could pass a security clearance in as much as they may not have connections to foreign countries, but they couldn't pass a security clearance in the sense that part of the security clearance is having a high credit score, because you don't want to have someone who has gambling debt. Or why am I thinking of Kavanaugh? Man, this is going to be off the charts, this video. The guides are fired up. Wow. Okay. All right. I'm just going to try to hold. I feel like I'm attached to like 17 galloping horses. I'm just going to try to hold on. I don't know where I was. They just put Kavanaugh and gambling debts in my mind. I can't go forward. Okay, look, y'all, come on, get it together. Okay, this is me clearing the energy, by the way. Okay, let's go. Let's bring it back. Let's calm down. Okay, so yes, we were talking about security clearance, right? So what they were talking about was these people that have been placed in government, like the Boberts and the Madison Cawthorns and the Marjorie Taylor Greens. They're all freshmen, right? I mean, come on, it makes sense. They couldn't pass the credit check part because they don't have enough credit, and they just don't have enough background to check. So anyway, but yes, we will. Your question is, will we? Yes, we will. It's going to be a while. It may be, the earliest I can see that happening is next year. But it could possibly be almost 2 years. Okay. But thank you for your question. That's a great one. Okay. Valerie Michelle says, and thank you for your question. Will there ever be a time, will there ever be a time when like 90 to 95% of our citizens will look back at 45 and see how horrible he was? 90% of our citizens? I don't know. When I ask that question, don't ask me why. They're showing me Germany. So they're showing me post-Hitler Germany. I don't think, I honestly, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just telling you what the guides are saying. Fact check me. I don't care. The guides are saying that even post-war Germany, you couldn't get up to 95%. Okay, so maybe that's a little bit too high. Maybe we could say 75%. I mean, sadly, I can't even say right now that 75% of our citizens look at 45. So I think in the future, how about, let's do 2 years. It's good that instead of future, it's really good to give them a deadline. So let's say 2 years from now. Let's say 2 years from now, will 75% of the United States citizens look back at 45 and see how horrible he was? 75%, guides. How about 60? 60%. I feel like I'm at an auction. 65%. In 2 years, we might get up to 70. In 2 years, almost 70% of our citizens in the United States will say he was a horrible president. I wish I could say something different, but that's what we have here. Okay, Marilyn Brainerd. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Will Mulvaney and Mnuchin ever face justice? You know what they're showing me, and I had forgotten about this. That's why I like doing these videos. Like, I learn things all the time because I never put these things together, obviously. They're showing me Mnuchin. So wasn't Mnuchin in charge of some kind of housing debacle where he did something to really hurt the housing market in the United States or hurt middle class people from buying houses? There was some sort of, I'm pretty sure that's what they're telling me. Now, why are they telling me that? Because he's gotten away with things in the past. He's very slick. He knows how to find the loopholes. He knows how to manipulate the system. What they're saying to me is we've got to change the laws. This is going to be a theme throughout this whole video. We have to change the laws. There's loopholes you can drive, semi trucks through. And there is a cottage industry, they're saying, of attorneys that do nothing but, constitutional attorneys that go through and figure out where there's a loophole, how you can maneuver your statement or your action to avoid criminality. So I guess the answer is, will they ever face justice? Okay, so here's another thing they're talking about, and they want to talk about this in regards to Trump as well. it would be helpful for you and I and the rest of us watching this video to broaden our idea of justice. Number one, to allow karma, spirit, whatever it is for you, to exact the kind of justice that is best for them and Trump or Mnuchin or Mulvaney, okay? So just because we might think justice, one of us might think jail, another of us might think prison, another of us might think taking all his money, another person might say taking away his notoriety, taking away their law degrees, taking away their ability to practice in any profession. Someone else might say justice is taking away their dignity. So, making them a pariah. So there's a lot of ways to have justice here. Also, sadly, justice could come in the form of a health crisis, right? So it would be helpful for us because this is what we're going to see. We're going to see them face their own brand of justice. It may not be what you want. And that's why the guides are always asking me to help you adjust your expectations. If we get locked into one type of expectation, we're just going to be really let down and not motivated to vote or not motivated to participate in our democracy. So we need to be kind of a little bit more open. And that goes very much for Trump. I think there's a question in here somewhere about that. And the thing about Trump is he's going to face justice. It may not be, again, they're always trying to help you adjust your expectations. It may not be for sedition or treason, but it may be for defrauding another charity. He's now in the news for his latest campaign grift. His latest campaign grift. They promised that this money was going to go to this one organization, and the organization doesn't even exist. It literally doesn't. They didn't even try to make it look like it existed. They just took the money and paid off private things. This is how Trump is going to go down. This is how the Trump org is going to go down. This is how his kids are going to go down. Yes, they should go down for treason. They should go down for so many other things that are more important to our democracy, but they may not. Okay? So does that make sense? So Mulvaney and Mnuchin are going to face justice, but it's going to look a little different, okay? I think Mulvaney, there's some kind of, I'm a little reluctant to talk about this stuff because karma is a thing, right? And we really, it's best to let spirit decide the best justice for different people. But I think Mulvaney could be headed towards a real health issue that could really cause him agony that a stint in a federal prison he wouldn't experience. Okay. Mnuchin is much slimier and slicker, believe it or not. I can't tell you if he's ever going to face justice. I really can't. He's really something else, his energy. But I hope that was helpful. I'm going to move on. Thank you for your question. Jane Copley says, thank you for your question, Jane. She says, are the public hearings of the J6 changing any hearts and minds to impact the results of the midterms? Yes, ma'am, it is. Again, we're not trying to change the hearts and minds of the Trumpers. They're too far gone. They're way too far gone. That the guides talked about them last year and said, they showed me, they're still talking about it. They showed me DePelchin. DePelchin is a company, I think, that specializes in adoption, or I don't know. I think these companies do a lot of different things, but also perhaps maybe drug rehab. So they're showing me that these Trumpers are going to end up in, not all of them, of course, but some of them, literally, there will be deprogramming centers sponsored by the government I'm not kidding you. Some of these people will literally have to be deprogrammed. Now, who the J6 committee is for is all the people in the middle. It certainly isn't for the Democrats, because I think the Democrats just get mad that all this evidence is here and nobody's doing anything. So I think it actually demotivates Democrats. But it's really for the people in the middle, the people that don't vote. We've talked about this before. The people that are busy, the people that don't think politics matters to them. It doesn't affect their life. But now all of a sudden they're drawn to pay attention because of the school shootings. They're drawn to pay attention because of the abortion debate. They're drawn to pay attention because now it is affecting their lives. And those people are who are going to turn out in droves. And a lot of them are younger. The younger voters are going to be turning out in droves. They seem to be able to get the big picture. They seem to be able to get the fact that our democracy is really, really under attack. And those younger voters are the same kids, you know, for the past 15 years have been doing active shooter drills. So they're different than me. I didn't experience that as a child. So they really have a passion and an urgency that a lot of the other voters don't have. So yes, I do think it's going to make a big difference, a really big difference. Thank you for your question. Meg H. Hi, Meg says, okay, she says, when the Jan 6 insurrection was in full swing, who is responsible for holding back or not calling the National Guard, and will they be held accountable? As far as I understand, that would be President, I can't use those words together. That would be Donald Trump. The National Guard in D.C. is only activated by the president. And so the interesting thing about your question is it's come to light, not maybe directly because of the Jan 6, but indirectly because of the Jan 6, that somebody called the National Guard and it wasn't Trump. And the people on the inside seem to think it was Pence that called the National Guard. Now, for Pence to have done that would mean that there was a chain of command that got broken, which is a whole nother thing. I mean, that's just as important and destabilizing as the fact that Trump was trying to overthrow our government. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that a chain of command was broken, that it was so bad that Pence decided he had to literally break the chain of command, number one. And number two, that the generals and other people backed him. So your question would be then, is Donald Trump going to be held accountable? And he is. He's going to be held accountable in many ways for many crimes. And he is going to go down. He's going to be in an institution. I've said this for a year. Guides have said this for a year. I see the place. It's white. It's got it's an institution, you guys. It's as if if Club Fed had a mental prison, I can't think of a word because I'm connected with spirit. But anyway, for the criminally insane, thank you. We have these prisons for the criminally insane. If we had a federal prison for the criminally insane, this is what it would look like. Whether or not he's really insane, I don't know. But he's a president, an ex-president. And whether or not he should have been, or we should honor that, doesn't matter. We have the legitimacy of the United States and the legitimacy of our democracy, our republic, and our presidency at stake here, and we have to treat him a little differently. We can't just put him in Rikers. It's not going to work. As much as I would like to see that, I would pay a lot of money to see that. But anyway, so he's going to be isolated. He's going to be by himself. He's going to be under house arrest. I hope that makes sense. And on top of that, we have the garbage truck coming. It's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Oh, yeah. We have garbage truck and dogs barking. How nice. Okay, so Gerald Ann Peterson, Heatherdale says, thank you for your question. Will there ever be term limits for all politicians, or at least in the House and the Senate? Again, this is that work that we need to do. When the guides talked earlier about we need to go through our Constitution, our amendments, we need to address 2A, the Second Amendment. We need to really address these things. And term limits are definitely something we need to address. Again, they're showing me these younger kids. Honestly, they just told me 10 years, which is a long time. But I'm going to say that these younger kids are going to start coming into running for office and being elected in the next, what's happening now, but in the next 5 to 6 years, you're going to see, right, because they're showing me how the Senate is full of all these old white people, right? I mean, really old white people. They're going to be leaving the Senate for various reasons. So you're going to see a sort of a shifting sands they're showing me, where slowly but surely the attrition takes place, and those younger kids are going to make term limits. They are going to do that. It's all happening, guys. It's happening at a glacial speed. That's frustrating. It's frustrating for me, but it is happening. Thank you for your question. And Liz says, who is or was Rudy Giuliani really working for? And she says, Russia, ? And yes, Rudy Giuliani was made. They just said he was made. So in the mob, entertainment purposes only and allegedly, in the mob, aren't you made when you do a crime and then you're one of them? You know what I mean? Like that's when you're accepted into the family or whatever. Oh, right. They're going back to 9/11. That's when he was made. And I know everybody thought he was the world's mayor and the best guy, and he was never trustworthy. He was never who you thought he was. He was never who you thought he was. A puppet. He's a puppet. Russia. You're right. Yep. Thank you, Liz. Okay. Next question. Cindy P. Hey, Cindy says, Doug Mastriano chartered 3 buses of Yahoos down to the Capitol. He is currently running for governor of Pennsylvania. The MAGA people love him. He's talking about making every Pennsylvanian to re-register to vote. So he's talking about having every citizen of Pennsylvania re-register to vote. And he wants to slash school funds. He's banning abortion, even in cases of incest and rape. And he would also control all voting in Pennsylvania if won. She wants to know, will he be charged with sedition or intent to cause, such as he actually went past police barriers and made it to the Capitol steps? He claims he turned around at that moment. The man is scarier than Trump. What do the guides think? Well, he does have a lot of Hitler. She goes on to talk about his Hitler-esque energy. He does have a lot of that energy around him. Very much. They're showing me, I would say, it's very strong in his energy, his connection to that. I just don't know how this is happening in the United States. Okay. I do not see Mastriano winning. I've never seen him winning. I've been asked this question many times. The spirit guide's been asked this question. When I say I and I'm channeling, I basically mean them. I don't see him winning. But he's a force to be reckoned with. He's not going to go away. He is a troublemaker. He will continue to be a troublemaker in Pennsylvania. He will continue to motivate and organize, maybe on a more local level. Encourage. I see him encouraging people to run for school board, to run for mayor. He's a problem. He's a problem that I hopefully will get taken care of. Your question was, would he be charged with sedition or intent to cause such as he actually went past the police barriers? No. I mean, sorry, I know I say that so casually, but no, he's not going to be charged with sedition. I don't even think he's going to be charged with anything. Again, we have to adjust our expectations. We have to really go with actual crimes. And in this case, you're going to see a lot more criminal charges coming out of state attorney generals than you will out of the DOJ, out of the feds. Now, that doesn't mean Garland is not working. It doesn't mean Garland is not choosing to charge them. And many times it means that we can get them to do more time in prison through some kind of money laundering charge than you can if you charge them with sedition. The charges, the punishment for sedition and treason is not that high. I mean, at one time it was hanging, but now it's not that high. You can get some pot and get caught and go to prison longer. Okay? So this is what the guides are saying. We need to spend time revamping our laws, revamping some of these amendments. So I'm going to tell you that Doug Mastriano is going to be targeted by somebody, a group, and that the best thing that you can do to get rid of him is through money, is through illegal, like something that could be construed as money laundering, even particularly, again, for entertainment purposes only, this video is on fire. He could really actually be implicated in some sort of gun situation, guns that have traveled across state lines. And they're telling me right now that they're going to use the argument of having them be hunting guns. Like in Texas, they say that AR-15s are used for hunting wild pigs, boars. They're not used. I mean, they just Google hunting with an AR-15 and people will tell you all day long they're not good. They're not good for that. But they have their arguments and they stick with it, and they don't have to be right. Remember, they don't have to be right. We don't have, our framework of what's acceptable has changed. So the only thing that's going to work here is a crime. So I think that they will be going after him for a crime. Okay. But he's not going to win governor. I don't see that. We have some time between now and then. It doesn't mean anybody should get complacent. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Oz Daniels says, anything on Pence, like will he testify or say anything about the hearing? Is he and Trump friends? And thank you. Thank you, Oz. I appreciate your question. Great question, actually, because Pence is a lot like Liz Cheney to me. Neither one of them should be trusted, but both of them did take the high road in a very important, very, very important. In some ways, right? We owe Pence our democracy. In some ways, we really owe Cheney our democracy. But I'm telling you guys, they're not anybody that anybody should even remotely think is rational or even middle of the road politician. They're both radical right, both very radical right. I'm telling you, don't get fooled by this Liz Cheney stuff. Just because she's trying to take Trump down doesn't mean that she's on our side. It doesn't mean she's an angel. She just wants Trump gone. The guides said this 6 or 8 months ago. And here it is playing out. So will Pence testify? Right. Sometimes this stuff makes me really tired. Okay, so Pence is walking, to use a visual, he's walking a ridge line. He's walking a very narrow path, and it slopes off on either side. One misstep and he's a goner. So he's walking this ridge line trying to rehabilitate his own chances for being president. He's trying to rehabilitate his image. And Trump is a beautiful way to do this, right? So all he has to do is throw Trump under the bus. Now he's not as courageous, quote unquote, as Liz Cheney, who doesn't care about the Trumpers. She just doesn't care about them. Liz Cheney knows those Trumpers' days are numbered. They're not going to be in power. They're not even going to be a force to be reckoned with in another year. They're not. And the fiscal Republicans are going to take back over the Republican Party, or they're going to split in two. This, again, the guide said months and months ago. So Liz Cheney feels more bullish on this, and this is why she's on the J6 committee. Pence is still trying to tiptoe between the tulips. He's trying not to make the Trumpers too mad, but yet he's trying to rehabilitate his reputation so that he can be president. Which is just like him, isn't it? He's wishy-washy. He's not going to take a stand here. He's not going to take a stand there. He's going to kiss this butt, but turn around and tell everybody that that same person is a liar and a cheat. So will he testify? If he's made to testify, he will testify. The best thing that the best thing that I want to see, that I hope happens, is that the DOJ or someone, it has to be the DOJ. It has to be the DOJ. Puts pressure on him to admit that he's the one that called the National Guard in. And they just told me, again, this is something the guide said before too. It all is coming, like playing out right before my eyes. That other people are going to come out, and then Pence isn't going to have any choice, right? So the evidence is going to come out regardless of whether he says it or not. And then he's going to be forced to admit. That is about 75% possible. 75% possible that these reportings, again, this is what the guide said in the past with all of this, and especially with Biden. Biden was trying to fix everything on the down low so it didn't upset our delicate stock market, right? I mean, everybody's all about that. Don't make the stock market flip out, right? So Biden is trying to fix all of these things on the down low. And what the guide said months and months ago is that investigative journalists were going to be breaking this news. So again, they used to use this visual of Biden trying to keep the lid on a boiling pot, and the lid is popping because it's about to boil over. But he wants to keep everything, like this, where he can just say, everything is fine, go back to work, COVID is over, right? I mean, I'm not saying bad things about him. I'm saying he's trying to manage crises, is what he's trying to do, without everybody freaking out. What the guide said was the pot lid was going to come off because of these investigative journalists breaking stories. How many books have come out before Jan 6 committee that detailed everything, that gave us all the goods? Before the DOJ said a word about it, still hasn't said a word about it. That's exactly what the guide said back in the day. Now here we are, same thing, same energy. Pence is trying to keep this on the down low. These investigative journalists are getting the information and are likely to make it public, at which point Pence is going to have to testify against Trump, which I think in the end he will do. And I think in the end, he wants to have a Pence-Cheney ticket. The next presidential election, which I don't see winning, by the way. Okay, just so you know. Whew. All right, sorry about that. Anna Banana, thank you for your question. She wants to know, will this issue of pocket pardons, will any of the insurrection promoting Congress members be barred from holding office again? with the issue of pocket pardons, will any of the insurrection promoting Congress members? So your question is, will they be barred from office? Which Spirit is taking. They can't say that they're going to be barred, but what they can say is that depending on the state, if you're a convicted felon, you can't run. So it's the same thing as being barred. I mean, you might think it's semantics, but Spirit is very specific about these things. So there will be Congress members who cannot run for office ever again. Yes. Will they be barred? No. They'll be not able to because of their status. I don't know if that makes any sense. I mean, yes, to me, yes, they're going to be barred. Okay. Thank you for your question, Anna. Steph R says, my concern is the light control. Oh, okay. My concern is the light gun control bill that contains very little real power. Is this really it? Will gun control eventually have legal and moral strength? Yes. So Steph, here's what I would say. We have to get behind this gun bill. It will make a difference. Primarily, the thing that's going to make the biggest difference is the funding for the mental health issues, because this guy in Uvalde would have been a prime candidate for somebody who would have been flagged as having mental health issues. Nothing else in that law. Well, maybe the 21-year-old. No, they didn't. They're not raising it to 21. So I'm not sure anything else in this current edition or rendition of this law would have stopped him, except for that mental health would have stopped him. So there are things in this law that are going to help. They really are going to help. So I would like to ask Democrats to just get behind things, right? It's not helping anybody. The infighting, the just feeling like nothing is ever going to, this sort of, nothing is ever going to work. Nothing is ever going to work. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Defeatism? I mean, that's not helping anybody. This is how we got Trump. Okay? I wasn't a Hillary fan, but I voted for her. Okay? So look, we have to just get behind these things. It's a step in the right direction. You're not going to win a marathon if you don't take the first step. This is a first step. Now, I would also like to tell you is after the House and the Senate, after the Democrats have control of the House and the Senate and more control, we don't have control right now, let's just face it. But after we genuinely have control of the House and the Senate, next year, we're going to put more gun laws on the books. And also, I see states getting pressured to put more gun laws on the books. The guides said after Uvalde and after Buffalo, this is different. The energy has shifted. I'm sorry it didn't shift after Sandy Hook. I'm sorry it didn't shift after all those shootings. I'm sorry. Why it didn't, I don't know. But it is now. It is now. The energy is shifting. It has shifted. And all those Uvalde moms, dads, uncles, aunts, brothers and sisters, all those same relatives of the Buffalo shooting and all the other shootings at the synagogues and the churches and the bars and everything are banding together. They're banding together as a unique and unified political force to be reckoned with. And that is exactly what the guide said verbatim. Okay? So we can have hope. Now, I would say to you, there's going to be more violence, and I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It makes me very upset. There's going to be more violence. But the energy has shifted. Give us a year. Give us 2 years. You're going to see a big difference in the United States. Give us 5 years. You're going to see a sea change. A sea change. Because we cannot continue down this road. It's not sustainable for anybody. Thank you for your question, Steph. I know it's hard. It is really, really hard. And it's something that wrecks me, to be honest with you. So I get where you're coming from. Carol Chandler, thank you for your question. Her first question is, how is VP Harris and her team doing working on immigration reforms and solutions? Will we hear anything about a framework or initial steps soon? Okay, I think that's your only question. I'm a fan of VP Harris. I think that she's in a very unique situation that I don't think she has. I think what they're showing me is this, okay? So she's a Ferrari, okay? She's a Ferrari and she's only being able to drive in second gear. Now, what another way to say that is, this woman is a leader. She has been a leader. She's always been a leader. And now she's in the second post position. She's not a leader. And she's having a really hard time throttling down. She's having a really hard time finding her pace. You know, Biden was able to just chill out and just work with Obama, right? Harris she's just having a hard time right now. And I've said this before. The guides have said this before. This is not news. Your question was, is she working on immigration reform? I mean, I'll be honest with you, she's not the right person. This is not something that she's going to be good at. She's got great qualities and strengths. This isn't it. We really need more of a diplomatic. And I don't know why they're showing me Buttigieg. Perhaps because Buttigieg is transportation and Central America and Mexico is just shipping, goods to us. And the transportation is bottlenecked everywhere in Central America and Mexico, especially in Mexico. There's lots of unrest. There's lots of civil unrest. There's people holding up highways, freeways, because they want whatever, better working conditions or whatever. So there's just a lot of unrest down there that we do need a better working situation with them, but I don't see her making headway for so many reasons. One is the Republicans don't want it. So that's why maybe the guides are saying, forget Congress. Let's do this in a monetary. Let's go down and talk money. The same way that Biden is now talking to the Saudis. And Biden has gone off to the Saudis and said, I need gasoline and I need it at a reasonable price. And what do I need to talk to you about to get that? Let's do some horse trading. He's doing that right now. So look, we have to do what we have to do, right? So this is what I think needs to happen with Mexico and with Central America. But I do see it getting better. I'm going to tell you that I do see the immigration situation getting better, but it's going to take, for me to say that it's better, I'm seeing 3 years from now. That's what it is, Thank you for your question. Karen Ettinger says, how did the DOJ find out that there were documents that Trump had taken from the White House? And will it come out that he has been selling our secrets to other countries? Will he be prosecuted for this? Also, did Trump have involvement in human trafficking? It's been said that we will find out he has done awful things beyond our comprehension, and she wondered what may be. Yes, yes, the answer is yes to all the things you asked, although it's not as simple as just a yes. How did the DOJ find out that the dump? Well, there were people in the White House that knew There were, especially at after Jan 6, there were people in the White House. Now, we're talking about a lot of people in the White House that aren't anybody you or I would know their names. They may be aides. They might even be people in the kitchen staff. They may be any number of staff. And those people typically work from president to president. And although Trump did get rid of a lot of them, there were some people there that weren't part of his organized crime ring, and they realized this is illegal and I'm going to say something. So there was a lot of tips that came from they're just showing me, I don't know, at least 20 people. Some of them were gate guards, meaning the guards that let people in and out of the compound, in and out of the White House grounds. Some of them were people that literally were in charge of, everybody. I don't know. There's people there that take care of they're sort of like historians. What is that word they're using? When you have somebody who, docents, the docents that lead the little tours, that know the history, that whatever. These people saw things. These people all called the tip line. So that's how the DOJ heard about it. There were so many people calling of course, when Donald Trump was in office, sadly, the FBI's tip line was disconnected, literally. So after that, after they felt it was safe and the FBI felt it was safe, tips started flowing in again. Did Trump have involvement in human trafficking? I mean, when you say human trafficking, and I'm seeing perhaps a moving van full of people, no, not directly. But if you say human trafficking as in he was with Epstein and Epstein trafficked somebody in, yes. So yes. There are many things coming out that are beyond your comprehension. Again, Biden and the institutionalists that really care about our country, that really care about our democracy, our republic, they don't want this stuff to be known. It actually makes the United States appear weak when our dirty laundry is aired for our enemies to see. All that becomes information that they use to create enemies against us. Propaganda, that's what it is. When our dirty laundry gets aired, it becomes propaganda, and that's what our enemies use to show them. So they're showing me North Korea. Well, look how bad the United States is. Look how corrupt it is. Look how terrible it is. You're so much better off here, right? So this is why they try to keep some of these horrendous things on the down low. It actually is a security thing. But even given that, there is going to be things that are going to come out. Well, I mean, today we learned that Lauren Boebert allegedly was a prostitute. And now she's a congresswoman. Shock and awe. That's what the guide said. Did a whole video on shock and awe. More and more stuff is going to come out. And it's going to come out so fast that by the time you get over the shock of this thing, another thing will come out. And there's no way that the Republican Party is going to outmaneuver that. That's why the Republican Party is splitting apart. And that's why the fiscal part of the Republican Party is going to either take over. Cheney's going to take over the Republican Party and push those criminals out and help them get, indicted or charged. Or she's going to pick up her marbles and her little game and create a new party. And that the guide's been saying that for many, many months. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you so much. Dorian MacDonald says, will we find out who some of the people directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein and his global human trafficking rings are and the dark monies involved? Are deals made on million-dollar yachts in international waters? Who's behind the continuation of these atrocities? Yes, absolutely. Deals are made on billion-dollar yachts in international waters. Why they think that really protects them, I don't think it protects them as much as they think it does. I think it does offer some protection, but I don't think it's as much as they think. So yes, there are deals being done like that. Bannon, Barr, all of those people are known to have done that. And will we find out some of the people directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein? Yes, we're going to find out who some of the people directly involved are. Absolutely. Directly involved. Like you're talking about Maxwell. What's her name? Ghislaine. Directly involved. We may find some more people that are directly involved, but they're not going to be famous. Okay? The Prince Andrews and probably the Clintons and the Trumps and all the people, whether or not if what they did on Epstein Island was criminal or not, they were there. They were surrounded by criminal activity. Those people are not going to, they're just not going to be charged. They're just not. We're talking about, again, this is the same thing as Trump. They're not going to charge Prince Andrew. There's not. That's not, you don't charge those people. They don't ever pay the price, right? So that's why Trump has to pay the price in a different and unique way, because he's going to be the first one. He's going to be the first one of the Western world. Now, some of these other people, in other countries that are a little less developed have indicted and imprisoned their politicians, but we don't do that here. So, I don't know. I hope that made sense. I'm not saying it's right. Don't get mad at me. You know what the answer is? Call 1-800-SPIRIT Guides. Press 1 for complaints. Because it is what it is. I'm channeling. Meek Inheritor, and I'm going to close this down in a minute, and I'll do a part 2. So be sure to check out part 2, because there's some really good questions down below, but I can't get to all of them. And the guides are so darn chatty. Okay, so Meek Inheritor says, everyone told Donald Trump that the election was honest, meaning not rigged. Who exactly was telling him otherwise? Just Giuliani and Powell. And Eastman and Meadows, and there was an inner circle that was telling him. And Eastman really deserves a lot of scrutiny, because Eastman is an attorney and he's the one that drew up the actual plan, whereas Giuliani and Powell supposedly is, but no one gave him the plan. They were just sucking up. They were just sycophants. Eastman is the one that said, this is how we're going to do it, right? Now, Barr is so slippery. Barr was there all the way up to the end, until the last week of December, or the 22nd or something. I don't know. Barr was there to the end, kissing butt. And then when he realized that, wait, this man really believes this. I mean, he really believes this. This isn't just me kissing his butt until he's out of office and I've done my job. This guy's gone off the rails. He's really going to do something criminal. That's when Barr backed out. But Barr is, in my opinion, they're all implicated. I don't think Barr is going to pay a big price. Bannon, however, is going to pay a price for some other things. He's got a lot of different criminal charges coming at him. And so does Eastman. Giuliani's already lost his ability to practice law. I think Powell has too, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so there's your answer. I think Meek Inheritor. Thank you so much. Let me do one more and then I'll go to part 2. Freda Stinger says, and thank you for your question, she says that Russia seems to be taking more ground. This is in regards to Ukraine. Will Ukraine rebound? And why is France and Germany lying about giving weapons to Ukraine? Are they in a deal with Putin and Russia? I'll answer that, and then I'll answer the second part. Okay, once again, the guides, Ukraine has ended up to be exactly the way the guides predicted from the first video. I have 3 or 4 videos on Ukraine. This is exactly what they said would happen has happened in this case. And they said that the West would pressure Ukraine to stop fighting, to let Russia have that part of the eastern and the south portion of Ukraine, to just cede that over to Russia. And Zelensky's never going to cede that over to Russia. Zelensky doesn't think he needs to. He's never going to. Zelensky's a hero, and he's a Ukrainian, and he's a patriot of Ukraine. And Biden happens to agree with him. So Ukraine is going to rebound, but this is the toughest part of the whole war. This part is the toughest part of the whole war. Russia needs this land. Russia wanted the rest of Ukraine, but it needs this land. That gives them a port. And they need that port for shipping. They need that port to control the shipping of all the grain that comes out of Ukraine. That's a moneymaker, and it controls Ukraine. If you can't take Ukraine by might, then you can control them economically by taking Mariupol and possibly Odessa. So this is why they need this. Now, not Odessa. What am I trying to say? Anyway, it's the other port to the east, to the west. It's the other port to the west that so far hasn't been taken over by by Russia, and it's on the water. Anyway, the good news is this. There's bad news and good news. The bad news is this is the worst part of the whole war. They're entrenched. They said last time Russia is entrenched. They're dug in. They are dug in. The areas to the north are, Ukraine is pushing them back across the Russian border, but the areas down south and to the east are very entrenched. And I just don't see that changing anytime soon. The good news is that I do see, and again, the guides have always said this. Those areas that Russia lays claim to that are not Russia's, those areas that Russia annexes, are going to be back in Ukraine's hands. There is no disputing this. It's a matter of time, however. So there's going to be some period of time of fighting, at least through the rest of this year, December, at which point the big strides and gains are going to be made in December, where we push them back. Ukraine pushes them back. And it's not like my Ukraine flag is right there still. I just changed up my background because I like to change things. See? So, the good news is that Ukraine's going to be all one again. It's going to be fine. Not fine. It's never going to be fine. It's going to be back together. And they are going to rebuild. They are the phoenix rising out of the ashes. They will rebuild. They will get into the EU. Your next question is, will they get into the EU? They will get into the EU. They will. This is good over evil, honestly. It really is. It is light and dark. It's that kind of battle. So yes, that's the answer to your question. Thank you guys so much for watching part 1. I really, really appreciate it, especially if you've lasted all the way to the end. You get some gold stars, and you can put that in a comment that you're the recipient of gold stars. I appreciate you so much. I will do part 2. As I said, there's some interesting things to talk to you guys about in part 2. Generally speaking, I put part 2 out about a day later, if not 2 days later, just to give you guys time to watch part 1. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Take really good care of yourselves. This is a roller coaster, good highs and low lows. And you know, roller coasters can make you seasick or motion sick. So just take really good care of yourself. If you need to disengage, I would suggest you disengage. This is not, would you want to ride a roller coaster 24/7 for the whole summer? No. So when you want to see something or you want to experience that, engage. Otherwise, cut the cords, turn it off, go outside, commune with Mother Nature, commune with animals, kids, music, art. Fill your energy with something beautiful and joyful. Because when we are beautifully filled with joyful energy, we emanate that. And that's truly how we can affect all these problems we've been talking about in this video. If you want to lift up our lawmakers, if you want to lift up the Democrats, if you want to lift up the voters, how to do that is not to worry about it, because worry brings more to you. The universe is just a big mirror, so whatever you put out, you get back. So spend some time visualizing and imagining those long lines of voters casting their vote for sanity, for morality, for decency, for professionalism, for humanity. Visualize peace. Visualize anyone that might be thinking of doing something or feeling violent. Visualize them surrounded and lifted by angels. This is how we do it, folks. This is how we change the energy. Everything we've talked about today is people taking action. But behind that person taking the action is energy. So let's send beautiful light energy to them so that they will take the highest action that they can. Thanks again for watching. Many blessings to you. We'll see you in part 2. For entertainment purposes only.